What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down what the news, data, and technicals are telling us about the overall market, how this may affect Tesla, and why on earth Tesla will likely either see a little bit more downside and then bounce, or just bounce from where it's at, in my opinion. Now, before I break anything down about Tesla, before I talk about this potential bounce that is likely coming in the future, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 5 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So anyways, guys, I want to make this video very quick. I do apologize if it kind of looks like I'm rushing during some scenes because I have a lot of things going on today and I'm just going to have to try to finish this as fast as possible. But Tesla did actually get, in my opinion, a bit of an overreaction after earnings. I did warn you guys about this in my previous video. In my previous video, I predicted that Tesla would likely see quite a bit of a gap down. It would actually drop pretty hard. Then around this 165 area, we would likely see it try to bounce because some people would try to defend as it actually continued to drop. And what happened was it actually went a little lower to like 163. That was the major support we talked about. It tried to bounce a little bit here and there for a couple of hours. It was just trying to hold 163. And then it ended up collapsing. And I did warn you guys about this. I told you that it would try to bounce, but the bearish momentum would actually engulf all of this buying pressure, which is very minuscule compared to the selling pressure. And this would bring Tesla down even lower, potentially to about 160 flat. And then I know a lot of people were just very, very upset in the comments. They were not happy about me saying that Tesla would likely tank pretty hard. And that is what ended up happening. And I'm very sorry that things like this happen. But at the end of the day, it's part of the market. It's what happens. And as investors, we have to be ready for moves like this at any given moment, right? Because unexpected things could happen in the markets. And the best thing to do is look at companies from their fundamental standpoints and remain calm, cool, and collected during all times. So what do I see for Tesla now? And I just want to note that Tesla is actually not looking too horrible in my opinion. And why do I say that? Well, when you bring up the extended hours, you are actually going to notice that Tesla overall is looking like it's about to see a nice bounce quite soon. We're curling on the MACD and also on the RSI. You can see Tesla is uh, forming a bullish divergence right here. As Tesla was just downtrending since yesterday, the RSI started to actually pick up more and more and more, and the RSI is actually trending in the upwards direction. I also want to add that our momentum indicators are supporting the same thing right here. Tesla's getting some more momentum. It's building some more strength slowly. So it is actually in a bottoming phase, and it does look like it's going to base quite soon. Now, I'm not saying it's going to just rally and rip to the absolute moon, but I am saying that we could actually see a bounce very, very soon, and the market may actually help with that tomorrow. But first, I want to talk about something else before I break down the markets. First off, for earnings for tomorrow, we have P&G. We also have SAP and a couple of healthcare companies. Earnings is not too big for tomorrow, but it is worth noting. What else is going to be very important is the PMI report that comes out 15 minutes after the market opens. So make sure you're ready and you watch for this because the market's going to make a big move depending on how the manufacturing data comes out. This is important because it actually helps us see whether or not we're likely entering a recession or not. The last time it came out, it did actually point in that direction. So what this tells me is the market's going to make a very big move. It's going to have a reaction 15 minutes after the market opens. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. So that's important because even if the market does like start tanking when we start the day, we could see a big reversal after this news comes out. So be very careful during the first 15 to 30 minutes of the day. The data is going to cause a big reaction. What else is worth noting is we have a very crazy options chain for tomorrow. SPY has about 500,000 calls in the money, 600,000 out of the money, 143,000 puts in the money, and over 3.3 million puts out of the money with a 405 max pain and 2.95 put to call ratio. What does this all tell me about the future? there are two possibilities for tomorrow. I'm expecting SPY and the collective market to actually make quite a volatile move. We're either going to see the market crash because of the shorts who are going to try to pump, or I'm sorry, crash the markets to get as many of these out of the money puts in the money, and they really want to actually bring SPY below max pain. That's what a lot of the shorts are thinking. However, they're not actually invincible, and because so many people are overextended and over leveraged on the short side, I want to note that there's also the possibility of a very big short squeeze, and that could actually be triggered by these market makers. The market makers might pump the markets very hard, right? Because they know exactly what the shorts are thinking. When people are actually buying these puts, the person on the opposite end is selling the puts to them. So they have an opposite position and they start hedging based off that. The zero data options expirations, depending on how that goes for tomorrow, could cause even more volatility. And I just want to note that as people actually continue to go too hard or too heavy on one side, what tends to happen, it doesn't always happen this way, but typically we tend to see the opposite reaction. So now there's so much over exposure to the put side, the short side for tomorrow. The market makers are going to try to squeeze the markets. They're going to try to cause a short squeeze. So I'm expecting a very big fight. And I do think, in my honest opinion, it's a little bit more likely that the market actually holds up. Because once again, the market makers are going to work very hard to try to stop these puts from making it in the money. And they're more likely to actually side with the opposite end. I will break down the charts that could be suggesting this in a couple of minutes. But first, let's talk about Tesla. So now the news is coming out. There wasn't actually much new news that came out compared to what I reported yesterday. Tesla did announce their sixth price cut for many of their models, and they are down over 10% because of that and also their earnings reaction. Earnings was not necessarily the worst ever. I mean, it wasn't horrible in a way because Tesla did actually meet on EPS and beat on revenue. But what wasn't good about it was the fact that Tesla has weakening margins and their profitability is at higher risk than before. So as their profit margins are dipping below 20%, Wall Street was not happy about this. But honestly, guys, I think a 10% crash in Tesla in one day is a bit of an overreaction. And looking at the charts, it does look to me like Tesla's very oversold, and we could actually see a bounce once again very soon. Now, another pretty decent piece of news is the fact that excuse me, sorry guys. Looking at the US inventory levels for Tesla, we actually had about, what is this, 606 just a couple of days ago, just yesterday, and now it's actually down to about the 400s, the mid 400s. So that's actually showing a bit of a drop in inventory levels. So we did actually see more Teslas being bought after earnings. Very, very interesting stuff. Let's hope that this does continue to drop because that's going to be better for Tesla's Q2 earnings report. But if it does actually maintain this uptrend, which has been exposed for quite a while, that could actually hurt Tesla going forward. That's part of why Tesla's continuing to cut prices. Tesla announced the price cuts again yesterday, and as a result, we are starting to see inventory levels drop by over 100 vehicles. So hopefully, we continue to see more and more demand for Teslas, and hopefully, we don't see their margins get eat up way too horribly as time continues. Elon Musk did mention that that's actually a very big struggle for them because of how the Fed is raising rates and the recessionary and macroeconomic concerns. But at the end of the day, he assured us that the long term is still very bright. And later this year, we do have some bullish catalysts as the Cybertruck is coming out very soon. Production will be coming out very, very soon in a couple of months, actually. They did mention by Q3 it should start. So that's once again going to be bullish for Tesla. I do expect better price action by then. But for now, for the short term, right? As you know, I know I've been talking about like some bearish things for Tesla, and this has actually hurt a lot of people. And I just want to be honest with you guys. I'm reading the charts, and the charts right now were suggesting not the best of things, at least from yesterday. Even from today, it's still not looking the strongest. But like I said before, a bounce is still a possibility. For today, however, it wasn't a very, very good day considering that we had over 200 million in volume and we did see Tesla sell off on very high volume. So we did see some capitulation. People were worried about Tesla's profitability. They were not too happy about earnings, and Tesla did not really get a chance to answer a good question that was asked and actually help bring more assurance for investors for like the short term. For the long term, they did a great job, but for the short term, it's very difficult for them to do that given the current macroeconomic environment. Now, I also want to note that down here, we also saw the short volume actually drop a little bit. So that is a decent sign. It's likely going to go up for this short period of time today and then maybe decrease later on. But it is very close to these extreme levels relative to the total volume. So that is a decent sign for Tesla that it could actually be seeing slowing from the short side. As far as the price price ratio goes, Tesla is still down here, underperforming compared to the market. And this is probably going to drop quite a bit. But once again, I don't consider this the end of the world because Tesla is very oversold and a bounce is still possible. JP Morgan has actually flip-flopped and they're now saying that Tesla is going to likely underperform compared to the markets. When it comes to earnings, you could see right here during their latest earnings. I don't think this actually updated just yet, but so far earnings tend to be strong for Tesla. Even this latest earnings was not the worst in terms of the report. They did beat on a lot of things and their energy storage sector did actually go up in terms of its overall revenue. But once again, other things like net income, their overall net cash, and things like that were not doing as well. So that did negatively affect them, did lead to lots of concerns. We're only green 48% of the time on Fridays, but we are very oversold, so that could change. And looking at the overall short interest, I only have this updated from as of 2 days ago. It was increasing. We're likely going to see a big spike for yesterday and also parts of today. But once again, if the market gets a short squeeze, we could see some shorts actually cover for Tesla, and we could actually see Tesla bounce a bit. Now, before I talk about the balance, we have to go over the two main possibilities before I end up concluding the video. There are two possibilities for tomorrow. I'm expecting a very volatile move. SPY is either going to come crashing down to max pain levels around this like 409 area and then break below that and continue to tank, or we're about to see a short squeeze where the market makers pump the markets hard as time goes on. By the time the market closes during the last few hours, they pump us hard. They try to actually squeeze shorts and cause the market to run. Now, in my opinion, looking at the charts, there's more evidence suggesting that that's more likely than evidence suggesting otherwise. And let me show you exactly why. First off, when you look at the overall structure, this is resembling what almost looks like a bull flag, right? You can see on the charts, we've been like uptrending. Now we're coming down in this channel, and we could actually break to the upside in a bull flag like pattern. That's a real possibility. I mean, that could even happen tomorrow, depending on how things go. We also have a bullish divergence on SPY as of right now. We made a lower high on for the share price, but right here, I'm sorry, we made a lower low. I'm sorry about that, guys. A lower low for the share price and a higher low for the RSI. So I'm sorry about that, guys. A divergence basically formed, which means we could see some upside. But we always have to remember that this is just on the shorter time frame, right? For the super short term, the odds are favoring more upside. It's a little bit more likely we see upside. But for the medium term, when you zoom out and look at the RSI, you will actually see that the RSI is telling us that we have a bigger bearish divergence still developing. It is not fully developed just yet, but it has been developing, if anything. I say that because you could see right here on SPY, we made the higher high right here, but the RSI made the lower high. And for now, it's showing some signs of playing out, but we don't have confirmation yet since we're still in this channel. And this could still develop into another bull flag, and we could still see the market make another move. So what do I think is going to happen tomorrow? I am prepared for anything, by the way. We could see a big move up or a big move down, but my prediction is going to be that the market's going to either gap in either direction. Maybe we try to gap up a tiny bit, then we see a sell off as the day goes on. But I'm guessing, or my prediction is, SPY is going to actually hold support quite nicely, then get another nice bounce. And as the day goes on, the shorts are actually going to get squeezed. And I think the market makers are going to try to pump the markets hard. I think the odds favor them actually pushing us up to at least 412 on SPY, if not even higher than that, maybe going into a break above this channel. I think it's more likely to happen than not. I'm not saying it's 100% certain. I just think the odds favor that based off the option chain and based off the bullish structure developing on SPY. As for Tesla, I just want to note that Tesla, in my opinion, is very, very oversold, extremely oversold. There are two possibilities for Tesla, in my opinion. The first one could be we might sell off a little bit more for Tesla. Our next major level of support's actually between 160 and then 158. I think Tesla's going to likely try to bottom around here. The more extreme downside would be around 155, though, so make sure you're prepared for anything. But my prediction is two main possibilities. Number one, if the market does end up getting a short squeeze tomorrow, Tesla could actually just trade sideways in this area and then get a nice bounce tomorrow and then start to actually push up. I don't think it's going to be a crazy green day, but I do think Tesla could slowly just stair step its way up as time goes on. The second possibility is going to be that maybe Tesla sells off a little bit more, it comes down to like 158 or so, it just starts to consolidate even more. Then we see a slow uptrend by the end of the day, and the more upside comes by like Monday of next week. Early next week is when we see more upside for Tesla. But either way, I am anticipating a bounce to come very soon and for Tesla to actually push back to at least 165. And if it breaks that, we're going to be watching this 167.9 zone all the way up here, getting closer to the high 160s and maybe a retest of 170 over the next couple of trading days. I believe the odds favor that for Tesla. I think it's very likely for that to happen based off technicals, and I do believe Tesla is very oversold. The only thing that would make me most likely wrong about this would be if there's some external factor, if there's like a super bearish piece of news again, if Elon Musk starts selling shares hypothetically. Not saying that he will, he actually promised he wouldn't, but I'm just saying for hypothetical reasons to be prepared for anything. But like I said before, if we ignore like any possibility about Elon Musk selling or any crazy piece of news, the odds heavily favor Tesla bouncing and trying to get back to about 170 very, very soon. By either tomorrow or maybe by Monday, we could see Tesla start to slowly uptrend and get closer to 170, in my opinion. Now, people may think I'm crazy for saying that, but like I said before, the charts are telling us that this thing is just very oversold. It's overextended on the short side, and if the market does get the short squeeze, the odds are more favoring that, in my opinion, and that could actually lead to some squeezing for Tesla. Just a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to be like crazy huge. Tesla just pumps all the way up to like 180 in one day or anything like that. I do think it's going to slowly start uptrending, and we should approach 170 over the next couple of trading days. Another confirmation of this would be the dollar index. It's not really breaking out just yet. It's just trading sideways for the time being. So this tells me that the market could have more momentum still to go. I also want to note that for Apple, let me talk about the QQQ, VIX, and Apple. Actually, for the QQQ first, uh, this is also forming a very similar structure as SPY. We technically have a bullish divergence developing because the chart made a lower low, but the RSI is making a higher low. And also, it's been in this channel. I know I don't really have it drawn out, but it's holding support quite nicely. Tomorrow it's likely going to retest support, so maybe we pull back tomorrow and then we get a nice bounce and we see this thing try to uptrend a little bit. And I do believe that it could try to squeeze tomorrow if Tesla gets a bounce, and we could actually see this thing get closer to about 318 one more time to 320. I think the odds favor that, but I'm always prepared for anything because of these crazy, crazy options. Always be prepared for anything, guys. I'm just saying the odds are more likely going to cause a short squeeze. The VIX is all the way up. It pushed up quite nicely, but it did not actually close above the 50 EMA. So the VIX is not giving us the confirmation we want for this to truly reverse. I say that because when you look at the trend in the past, the VIX tried to break out of the 50 EMA, then it failed. It broke out and failed. So far it did that. There's no confirmation yet, so I can't say for sure if the market's getting ready to tank or if the VIX is about to end up being the one to slow down even more. Finally, for Nvidia, Apple, and then the 10-year Treasury yield before I end the video. Nvidia, in my opinion, has a bullish divergence. On the charts, we technically made let me just see it. From this end right here, we actually made a higher low on the chart, right? But the RSI is making a lower low. So Nvidia, it might actually bounce very soon. It could pull back a little more than try to bounce, or it could just try to bounce immediately and try to get to about 274 very soon. This is just a temporary bounce because in the more like medium term for the next few weeks, I do see more downside eventually coming to Nvidia. But for now, that's what I'm essentially seeing. For Apple, real quick, very similar to Nvidia. we have a possible, we don't really have a divergence. We actually formed a double bottom on Apple. I think Apple might actually cool off tomorrow, get closer to like 165, fill its gap below. So I do see the market pulling back tomorrow, then maybe bouncing, getting a bounce later on, and maybe we see Apple bounce thanks to a short squeeze. I do believe the shorts, once again, there's a high probability of them getting squeezed thanks to market makers based off the option chain and some divergences developing on SPY. That's just a temporary thing. Not saying it's going to last forever, because for the medium term, I'm still more bearish for the stock market. This is just a more short term projection. And also, the 10-year Treasury yield is actually dropping a bit. It might try to pump to fill this gap in the morning, maybe just very, very early on. If that's the case, this could be a little bearish for the market to start us off. But if it rejects off that and starts cooling off again, then the market could actually get a bounce. There's also the possibility of us forming like a head and shoulders on here. So it bounces a little bit, the market cools off in the morning, then it starts trending down, and then the market just starts to pump as time goes on. Overall, that's what I think is very likely. We have so many puts expiring, so the market makers might try to pump the markets. We technically closed red, even though we got this rebound at the end. We did close red down 0.55%, so I do believe the market makers will try. But once again, guys, if the bearish outcome comes, always be prepared for that just in case. You have to watch like 410, 409, and then this 408 zone on SPY. The more bullish case is going to be a break above 412, getting to retest this zone and maybe breaking above it to start to break out. That's the more bullish case. What do I think is more likely? I think the bullish case is more likely, and I do believe Tesla is going to bounce very, very soon. When will Tesla bounce? It could try to bounce starting tomorrow, but if it doesn't start tomorrow, then possibly by early next week, by like Monday or Tuesday. But I believe tomorrow is most likely going to be the day for Tesla. It either just starts uptrending from the morning, or it just kind of cools off in the morning with Apple and other stocks, retests 160, 158, just a little lower, but then we do maintain the strength we have, the strength that's developing, and the divergence. And then we see Tesla start to uptrend as the day goes on for a nice close, maybe a push to the mid 160s, getting closer to 170. And we should actually approach it over the next couple of trading days. I do believe Tesla's due for a bounce. I think it's very, very oversold. And I do believe that this drop is a bit of an overreaction because, yes, earnings did have some bad news, but the majority of news was actually not extremely horrible. Some pieces of news were pretty bad, other pieces of news were okay, and a couple pieces of news were actually pretty good for Tesla, such as their energy business doing a lot better, such as Tesla, beating on revenue, for instance. So mixed earnings, a little bit more bad, but I don't think it was bad enough for Tesla just straight up crash from here. And technicals are telling me it's likely to see a bit of a bounce soon. So anyways, thank you all for listening. I know I was supposed to make this video shorter, but it's still very long anyways, as there's so much to talk about. Last thing is I have some merch for you guys, either above or below the comment section. Check it out if you guys are interested. With that out of the way, thank you all so much. Tesla to the moon. The long term is very, very bright, and peace out.